It's time for another video. It's been 16 months on testosterone and all is well. Excuse the slightly unusual setting. We're doing stuff in our dining room at the moment, and I couldn't find anywhere to point a camera that wasn't completely embarrassing and humiliating because there's stuff everywhere. So I've kind of reversed everything and I'm up against a wall. I feel like I should have a number under me. But never mind, at least it means you don't get to see piles and piles of crap. Right, yeah. As I said, really everything is going very well. I'll consult the list as usual. Basically, progress is fine. I think certainly coming up to, well, certainly sort of during social transition and starting into your medical transition and stuff like that, there's a lot of change going on. There's always something that you have to be aiming at. You know, whether it's getting name changed, whether it's, you know, going to see a GP for the first time, going to see a specialist for the first time, getting your hormones, and so on, really. You know, especially sort of leading up to things like chest surgery. And then after that, you know, for me at least, things have kind of petered out a little bit, really. And of course, it's quite funny because people that I speak to, whether it's at work or, you know, friends or you know, like at my doctor's surgery, they're kind of like, well, what next? You know, what's next? What do you do next? And I think, I mean, I've said it before and I've used all sorts of analogies about, I don't know, cakes and popcorn in the microwave and things like that. But there is definitely the idea that somehow we have to, we're like a recipe, you know, trans people are like a recipe, and you put all the right ingredients in and then shove it in the oven for however long, and it's ready, you know, it's done. You are the thing that you were aiming at. And there's all sorts of misconceptions around that I probably can't get into right now, but yeah, the idea that somehow there's an end point is an interesting one, because I'm not convinced there ever is an end point for a lot of us. And certainly transitioning just keeps on going. You know, I meet guys who have been on testosterone for 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years, and they're still changing. There's still stuff, I mean, not massive changes, but you know, their bodies are still evolving, just in the same way that anybody evolves. You know, you don't just suddenly get a whole bucket of hormones when you're 14 and kind of change for a bit and then stop. And yeah, so what next? I guess is the question. You know, I got my testosterone. The libido, incidentally, suits me fine. I had my first libido shot, I can't remember. I have got it written down. I'm quite efficient, but I honestly can't remember. It's not quite 3 months ago anyway, because I'm due to have another one soon. Yeah, it's worked really, really well. It's been nice just to have a great big injection in my bum and then not have to think about things for 12 weeks. It's really suited me, so that's cool. I've got that. Yeah, what next? I suppose for a lot of guys, the what next would be, you know, whether they're going to think about bottom surgery, as in surgery below the waist rather than surgery to your bottom. My bottom's fine. That's not something I'm really thinking about at the moment. My policy on this one is never say never, but at the moment it's not an urgent need. For a lot of trans guys, having lower surgery, bottom surgery, is extremely important. It is vital to them being comfortable as who they are. I don't find that, so therefore it's not quite so high on my list of priorities. However, I have spoken to both my GP and my local specialist about getting on the bottom rung of the hysterectomy ladder. Or I should say, not just hysterectomy, but hysterectomy and oophorectomy, OOPH, look it up. And that's basically, that would involve obviously me having surgery to remove quite a lot of the kind of the female reproductive organs internally. Yeah. Reasons for that, primarily for health reasons, for ongoing health reasons. In my case, some people I believe have these operations, partly for that and also partly because it encroaches on their male identity to still have things like a womb and ovaries and what have you. Again, not a big deal for me, but from the point of view of trying to avoid health issues further on in my life, I'm quite keen just to get started with that. But again, it's it's not a big hurry. If I can start kind of running it past my GP now, then hopefully we'll get somewhere. More than that, I don't have a lot to add at the moment. I have been doing a weekly video, which is quite fun. It's part of a collaborative channel called It's a Man's World FTM1, and the idea with that is there's lots and lots of people who contribute, and we each run down a list of topics. So if it's week 14, you're doing hormones, for instance, and that's been quite a challenge. It's a different type of video experience to what I'm doing here, and that's been quite useful in some ways. Just actually sort of looking at very specific things to do with transactions. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link down there. My WordPress is carrying on. I still do a weekly blog. I've been keeping that up. I think I'm on something like 85 posts now. It's interesting looking back at that, actually. There's bits of it that I'd probably change now if I could. Some of the things I said really early on, I look back and go, ooh. But, that's the way you chart change, really, isn't it? Anyhow, I've made the decision that I don't want to stop doing this by any means. I enjoy doing it and I think it's useful for me. I said right from the start that this was a way of me recording my own journey. If other people happen to gain from my experiences, then great, but primarily it's been a sort of it's a diary kind of thing, and it's useful for me actually just to look at my face and stuff like that and think, gosh, I look back at the very first video, do it if you haven't done it recently, and look at how my face has changed. And my neck, I've suddenly got this kind of bulldog neck, which I'm not complaining about because I used to be like a little chicken. Listen to the way that my voice has changed. I mean, obviously it's still not deep, but a lot of change has gone on, and it's really useful for me to be able to kind of see that for myself, because sometimes it is quite difficult when you're doing this to really recognise the changes that are taking place. Every now and again you take yourself by surprise. Look at yourself in the mirror and go, whoa. So what I'm going to do, I've been doing this once a month. I'm probably going to kind of cut that down to once every 2 months. Again, not through lack of enjoyment, not through lack of enthusiasm, but simply because I actually don't have a great deal to say at the moment about my own transition. It's going nicely. It's doing fine. I'm fine. Life is good. But I think I would gain more out of doing it every couple of months, because then I'll actually have something to talk about. And I'll have things, I make notes, I can actually put together stuff that I can talk about, and hopefully that'll be a bit more interesting for everybody. However, if anything exciting does happen, I will ensure that I kind of hop on the video. I will still be doing my weekly collaborative stuff, so if you're itching for a view of my lovely face, then have a look at that. The WordPress stuff again continues. But basically, I think from my point of view at the moment, I think cutting things down to just a little bit less often will give me more to talk about when I actually kind of get there. Life, as I say, is good. The hormones are working. Chest surgery, recovery, excellent. I don't have immediate plans for anything very surgical in the future. And when that time does come, then you'll know about it. Anyway, take care. I will see you in a couple of months, or if you're on It's a Man's World FTM1, I'll see you next Sunday. Right, bye.